guys, how's it going? Thought it'd be fun to break down the solo arrangement from Tuesday. And if you missed it, I was playing Summertime, the old Gershwin classic from Porgy and Bess. So we're just going to go through that arrangement today, talk about kind of how I approached it, what I was playing, and hopefully, just a couple other things. If you guys have questions or anything, let me know in the chat. And it looks like the chat's probably not working on here again. So I apologize for that. I'll check in periodically with the phone, but I know it lowers the video quality when I do that. So just let me know that everything's working all right, and we'll jump in. But let me check with you guys first, and then we'll do that. And let me know if you have any questions as I'm going through. All right. It might get pixelated while I'm checking with you guys on what's going on. But if you aren't familiar with the song Summertime, you've probably heard it before and just aren't aware that you've heard it. But it's a very, very common tune, and it seems like the perfect time of year to do it. So here's kind of how the arrangement starts out, just to give you an idea. Starts with a little bass line with the backbeat. So there's a lot of stuff going on there, but that's just the intro. Whoops, and there's an advertisement on here. So let me know in the chat if you're here, if everything is working correctly. All right, I see nothing from anybody, so I'm assuming the stream is being kind of strange. All right. Well, I'm going to keep going anyway and hope that it sorts out. Hope that it works. All right. But just let me know so I know that it's working. All right, so back to the song. So first, we've just got this intro. And then we jump with the melody. So all this intro is the 5th fret on the E string, and I'm playing that with my thumb. Then I'm doing a ghosted note. So I'm basically slapping the string, but not letting my thumb bounce off. Instead, I'm letting it just kind of stay there. And you could also mute with the left hand, but literally just by letting your thumb do that, it's going to create that slap sound without a note in it. So I'm hitting the 5th fret on the E string, Then I'm slapping that ghosted note. Then I'm hitting the 7th fret. Actually, I'm hitting another 5th fret before that. So 5th, slap, 5th, 7th, slap. So that's kind of what we're doing. 5th fret, slap, 5th, 7th, slap. Then it goes 7, 8, slap, 8, 7, slap, 7, and then it kind of repeats. So 5th fret, slap, 5th, 7th, 7th, 8th, 8th, 7th, 7th. So you kind of get the idea. So that is basic intro, and then it almost repeats all the way through again, with the exception of on the last slap in the measure that we normally do. We play the melody note with it. So that's kind of hard to do. But basically what I'm doing there when we get to it is I'm going to be slapping the E string at the same time as flicking my finger out to hit the G string. And then I have to mute the strings in the middle. If I accidentally hit the D string, it won't matter, kind of thing. It'll just become part of the slap. So let me show you where that happens. So first time through, we just play the intro. Then here, So you see where that happened? So let's go through, this will be measure 3 and measure 4 if you have the music and you're following along. But basically, we start that same little intro for the second time. So after we get to that 8, 7, that's when we do the next note. So measure 4 sounds like this, right? So 8th fret on the E string. Just this is the last part of the walk up. Slap, 8, 7, and then instead of just doing a slap, we're going to hit the 9th fret on the G string with that slap. Okay, and if you look at this hand right here, I know it looks random where my fingers are. It kind of is. The important thing is that my pinky is holding down the 9th fret, and the other 3 strings are muted so that they won't ring out if I accidentally hit them. That way, if I do accidentally hit them, it just becomes part of the slap. So from measure 3, 5, slap, 5, 7, slap, 7, 8, slap, 8, 7, and then there's that melody note, the slap with the flinging out, which I'm using my fingernail to kind of fling out and hit the 9th fret on the G string as well. So that's kind of the hard thing to do, is get that coordination. So you're going to want to work on slapping and flinging out with accuracy. It's pretty easy to miss the string or to hit too many strings or just all sorts of things. So you just got to get used to that finger kind of hitting with your fingernail. Kind of tricky to do. There are other ways to do this, but I think that one's the best one. So we'll just stick with that. And then after that, you're going to hit a 5th fret on the G string. So the first 4 measures are so with that 5th fret, literally after doing that slap note, I'm just coming back up and plucking that note on the way up. Right? And then this is where it gets tricky. Measure 5, I'm hitting the 5th fret on the E string and the 9th fret on the G string at the same time. So that's quite a stretch. If you're doing this on a full scale bass, there's another way to do it, and I'll tell you in a second. I like this way because I have control over the fretted notes. But if this is too much of a stretch for you, hurt your hands, we can replace the 5th fret on the E string in measure 5 with the open A string. It's the same note. To me, I just have more control over this 5th fret for when I want to cut it short when I go to the other note. So, because then we continue that walk up that we've been doing, that bass line. So that's easier for me than going, right? Just linearly, it's a little strange to jump from the open string and then play the 7th fret on the E string after that. But that is an option if you don't want to do the stretch in measure 5. Just replace that 5th fret E string with an open A string note. All right. So that's that first little part. Once we hit that, then we've just got our ghost note, our slap note, in other words. Then 5, 7. Another slap, 7, 8, and then on this slap note we have another melody note. So this part's going to sound like this. Let's see. That's kind of weird, right? So we got another note where we have to slap the E string while flinging our finger out to hit the 7th fret, this time on the G string. We have the 5th fret on the G, then the 7th fret on the G string with the 7th fret on the E string. Then the 9th fret on the G string, then a slap, and then the 5th fret on the G string, sorry. So from measure 5, that sounds like this, just to give you an idea. Kind of weird, right? It's weird to stop on that part of the phrase, but if I keep going, then you'll hear kind of how it goes into, right? So this is rather complicated. So if you're a beginner, I suggest kind of learning some other stuff before coming back to this, because it uses a lot of techniques that you're probably not going to see in a whole bunch of songs. So just kind of keep that in mind. I'm going to see if anyone has any questions on the chat yet. I'm just going to see how things are going. Seth says hello. And then, Alan's talking about the haircut. Okay, well, I'm glad the chat is working on here. I'm hoping that that it's not too pixelated when I'm not looking at the phone. I think when I do look at the phone, it kind of hurts the internet connection. Okay, anyway, we'll go back to this. So this one's kind of weird, right? So I'm gonna go over this from measure 5 to measure 6. We start with that 5th fret on the E string, 9th fret on the G string. Then we slap the E string. Then we're going to do 5, 7 on the E string, then another slap, then 7, 8. And then this is where we do the, which is slapping the E string and flinging your finger out so your fingernail catches the 7th fret on the G string. Then 5th fret on the G string, 7th fret on the E string and the G string at the same time, 9th fret on the G string, slap the E string, and then the 5th fret on the G string. And if we were to keep going, there's a really hard transition from that 5th fret on the G string. The next notes will be a 5th on the E string with a 7th fret on the D string, little octave A notes. And then and we'll talk about that measure. That part will sound like. So that's the next two measures. So after we hit the 5th fret on the E string with the 7th fret on the D string, we're going to hit the 7th fret on the A string. And we're going to slap the E string. And then we're going to play 5, 7 on the E string. Then 7, 8, slap, 8, 7. And then this time, instead of just doing a slap, we'll have another melody note, which is going to be the 9th fret on the G string. So we're going to have to do that same thing where we slap the E string and fling our fingernail out to that 9th fret. Then we've got the 5th fret on the G string after that. Okay, so I'm going to play from measure 5 through measure 8 so that you guys can hear how all that fits together. So that's that whole thing that we just went over. Let's play it together a lot slower than that. 1, and I think that's too slow. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, measure 5. And 1, 2 and 3. Whoops, I'm playing the wrong note. Sorry, let me start over. My brain was all over the place. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. I did it again. Sorry, it's 5, 7. I keep playing 7, 8. Let me try it again. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and 4 and so it's hard to do that slow. It's like concentrating on the counting while doing that makes it trickier. So try just getting those notes in order first and then come back to that section to play along there. It's quite a lot going on. Okay. And then after that, we're changing chords. We're going to a D minor chord at this point. So now we're going to be dealing with the 5th fret on the A string and the 7th fret on the G string, but we're going to be pairing those two strings more for the next two measures rather than using the E string a lot. We're going to use the A string a lot. So this part sounds like this. Whoops, it doesn't really. Let me look at it. It's been a couple days since I've played it, so let's see. This this is the hardest part of the song, I do believe. So this is the measure I had to practice the most when I was doing it the first time. So we've got this. Oops. Because the hard part here is, let's see. Oh, it's there. Okay. So here we go. Let me demonstrate this for you. Okay, so that phrase is from measure 9 to halfway through measure 12. So once again, pretty hard stuff. So we're doing the 5th fret on the A string and the 7th fret on the D string. I'm just plucking those with my thumb and my ring finger. And once again, 5th fret on the A string, 7th fret on the G string. I may have said that wrong the first time. Then we're going to slap, then 5, 7 on the A string, slap, 7, 8 still on the A string. And then here we're going to slap and play the 5th fret on the G string at the same time. The hard part here is muting the D string while you're doing that. We're still doing that thing where we fling our finger out to hit the 5th fret, and we're slapping the A string this time. Then we play the 7th fret on the D string, and then we've got the 7th fret on the A string with the 5th fret on the G string. Kind of a weird one because it's like almost like our octave pattern, but where we reverse the two notes, if that makes sense. So we've got 7th fret on the A string and 5th fret on the G string. So kind of a weird one. And then we're going to play the 7th fret on the G string. Then we're going to slap the A string and muted. And then we're going to play the 5th fret on the G string. And then this is where we jump up. This is kind of a weird transition. The 7th fret on the E string with the 9th fret on the D string. So I'm going to wait there and just kind of go over these two measures. And then from there, we'll work on those. So measure 9 and 10 together. Here it is slowly, and then we'll play it together. And I'm ending on the downbeat of measure 11 because that's a hard transition. Okay, so here we go together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay, I'm going to do that one more time because yet again, my fingers don't want to play 5 and 7. They keep wanting to play 7 and 8 fret on the A string. So measure 9 again so that you guys can play along and not wonder if you're making a mistake. Sorry about that. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay. So starting from where we left off, it goes. So that's going to be 7th fret on the E string and 9th fret on the D string. That's where we stopped before. Then we're going to slap the E string muted. Then we're going to play the 8th fret on the A string. Then we're going to play the 7th fret on the E string. And then we're going to do a slapped note. So basically here you have two options. You can do that thing where we slap the E string muted and then use your pointer finger to hit the A string, but those are really close together, so that's kind of hard to do. So the other thing you could do is just kind of strum through both strings with your fingernail and try to just accent it to get an attack out of the note instead. So there's kind of multiple options on that one. So, right? So you can kind of do that, or you can kind of slap the E string and fan out your finger at the same time. Anyway, that's kind of weird. So that's beat 4 in measure 11. And then we're going to play the 7th fret on the A string and slap the open E string. And that's where that phrase ends. So I'm going to pick back up here in a second once we get to that point. So this is just halfway through measure 12 that we're stopping. So let's try it from measure 9 all the way through 12. I might go a little bit quicker just for the sake of time. You're going to have to work through this kind of slowly, but it might be good to hear the rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay. And then after that, on beat 4, we have a pickup, which is just our normal little melody thing, like we did leading into the melody originally. And that's that thing where we mute the E string and slap that while flinging our fingernail out to hit the 9th fret on the G string, and then hitting the 5th fret on the G string by itself after that. So this part's a lot like the intro, but we actually leave out a couple notes, so it makes it easier. It sounds like this. Hear how there was like one less note in there? Yeah. So actually this. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I did slap on that note. So pick up into measure 13. So this is going to be that place that we talked about where we slap the ghost and fling our finger out to hit the 9th fret on the G string. Then we're going to play the 5th fret on the G string. And now into measure 13, we've got the 5th fret on the E string with the 9th fret on the G string. Once again, if that's too much of a stretch for you, you can always replace the 5th fret on the E string with the open A string. I just prefer to do it this way. Okay. So we've got that note, then a slap note, then 5, 7, slap 7, 8. Then now we're going to do a ghosted slap with the 7th fret on the G string. Just that same move, we're slapping the E string and flinging our finger out to hit the 7th fret on the G string. Then the 5th fret on the G string. Then the 7th fret on the G string and the E string at the same time. Just plucking that with my thumb and my middle finger. Then we play the 9th fret on the G string. And we're going to slap the E string ghosted by itself on beat 4. So let's play through those two measures together with the pickup. So I'm going to give you a count off of 3 and then we'll come in on beat 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then that's where we stopped. So then the next part sounds like. So that part is going to be the 5th fret on the E string with the 7th fret on the D string. So I'm just plucking those. I'm using my thumb and my pointer finger. If you're interested in that, thumb for the E string and pointer finger to pluck the D string. Then we're playing the 7th fret on the A string by itself. Then we're doing that ghosted slap. Then 5, 7, slap, 7, 8, slap, 8. And then this time it's different. We're going to play the 5th fret on the A string. Then we're going to play the 5th fret on the D string while slapping the E string. That one's kind of hard to get cleanly, so just do the best you can on that one. I'm using extra fingers to mute the G string while I play that. Just out of necessity. I don't think I'm consciously thinking about it, but that's what ended up happening on my hand. Okay. So this next part is also kind of tricky, but once we get to this point, there's no real new material for the rest of the song. So even though it's a little hard, once we get it down, then we're good. But let's play through measure 15 and 16 together first. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So that's that. So now we're going to do the pickup into measure 13 to that point. So we're coming on beat 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay. And then here's the part at measure 17 that's kind of cool, kind of tricky. Let me make sure I'm starting in the right spot. So that part's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to see if I remember how to play all of it to play it further than that. Oops. And it goes back into that bass line again. And then we kind of repeat the part that we're learning right now a couple more times in the rest of the song. So let me play it one more time for you. It goes back to the bass line. So we're going to be playing the 8th fret on the E string and the 10th fret on the D string. Then we're going to play the 7th fret on the D string with a slap on the E string that's muted. So that technique that we've been using before, we're slapping the E string, but our pointer finger is flinging out to hit the 7th fret on the D string. And when you do that, you have to use some part of the other fingers to mute the G string so the notes don't ring out on that string. So after that note, then we're going to play the 10th fret on the D string, the 7th fret and the 9th fret on the G string. We're going to do another one of those slap notes. I'm using my thumb to slap. And this is kind of weird because it sounds major for a second, but it's because I'm adding a note in there that resolves pretty quickly. So this is the 7th fret on the E string with the 8th fret on the G string. Then the 7th fret on the G string by itself. And then a slap. Then the 5th fret on the G string by itself. Then 7th fret on the A string with 7th fret on the G string. Kind of weird because our thumb is going back and forth on this hand, the plucking hand, between plucking the E string and plucking the A string. So it's kind of something you got to think about with that. It's a little tricky. And then we've got this cool little hammer-on pull-off figure that sounds like this. And we got to slap the first note to imply that that backbeat that we've been doing the entire song. And that backbeat, that slap sound, has happened on beats 2 and 4 consistently all the way through the song, which is why sometimes we need to play a note while doing that. So it's just kind of important to know that that's a backbeat rhythm. So when we get there, you can either slap it or you can strum it with a little force. Sorry. And what we're strumming, we're hitting the 7th fret on the D string. Then we're pulling off, which means our right hand's doing nothing. Our left hand is just taking the finger kind of off and slightly down while our pointer finger is pushing down. So that'll be 7th fret. It's kind of got that attack. Then we're pulling off to the 5th fret. Then we're hammering back onto the 7th fret, all on the D string. So kind of tricky. So that's at the end of that measure, which makes it hard to remember when you get there. And then we're going from there back into our little bass line. So let's try this together slowly. Measure 17 and 18. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then it goes in. So after that hammer-on pull-off, should have mentioned that we're going to hit a 5th fret on the E string. You could also replace that with an open A if it's easier. After that hammer-on pull-off figure, going into, what is that, measure 19 there? And that's the start of that bass line. That's the first note of that thing happening again. So then measure measure 19 is just like that bass line by itself. And then once we get to measure 20, the bass line changes a little bit and it plays what we played in measure 16 again, which would be the so I'm just gonna go from there. Measure 19, 5th fret on the E string, slap, 5-7, slap, 7-8, slap. Then you're gonna go 8, and then 5th fret on the A string, and then you're gonna play the 5th fret on the D string while slapping the E string deadened. So we get that attack, little backbeat on B4, while we're getting the melody note with our pointer finger. For me, pointer finger. You can use the middle if you want, I guess. Fingernail, just to kind of like get that 5th fret on the D string. Once again, if we have a note on the D string that we're playing, we've got to somehow mute the G string so that there's just not notes ringing out. So there's a lot of stuff to keep track of here. And then after that, measure 21 and 22 are identical to measure 17 and 18. So we've got that hard part again. We're just literally tagging the songs. This is really the last 4 measures of the song form. I'm just kind of repeating them and then filling in the gaps with that walk up. So from measure 19, 20 into 21 and 22, it sounds like. And it goes back because it repeats after that. It repeats measures 19, 20, 21, and 22 again. So that's kind of the good news, is we've covered all the new parts until the very ending, which is just the walk up and then an octave to end it out. So nothing crazy. We've covered everything that's hard about the song at this point. Now it's just a matter of getting the order of what to do. So since measure 21 and 22 are exactly like 17 and 18, I'm just going to play from 19 through 22 2 times. And we'll kind of do that at a medium speed, and then I'll do it 1 time slower afterwards just to kind of like work on it. So here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Whoops. I was looking at a different part on the page. So basically it repeats there. It doesn't do something different. So let me play it one more time for you guys so you can play along. Measure 19 through 22. I'm going to do it 2 times at that speed. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And that's where we go into the ending. We don't do another repeat there. So sorry, that last little bit was technically measure 23 and 24, which are very, very similar to measure 19 and 20 up until they don't do that extra. They're very much like the beginning of the song, really, at that point, but it's a very similar thing. So let's do it a little bit slower at measure 19. And I think we can still play through it twice. We might just play through it once, depending on how long it takes. But you want to practice doing it 2 times in a row. So let's try that. So that's the goal. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then from there we're at 23, which you don't have to keep playing, but this is just that bass line from the intro. So it's literally that bass line from the beginning for measure 23. I can't talk right today. 23, 24, 25, and 26. The only difference is at the end of measure 26, rather than hitting another 7 on the E string after beat 4, we just leave out the and after beat 4. We don't do anything. We just wait. And then we hit the 5th fret on the E string with the 7th fret on the D string as our final note. So nothing about that outro is really difficult. It's really a lot like the intro. So if you're able to play to this point, that's kind of like the, we made it through the hard part. Let's do this part at the end. Okay, so I'm going to see if anybody has any questions. I know that was kind of a doozy. I'm sure it's hard for a lot of people to hang in for that. Let me see if I can pull up the chat and just see what everybody said. Wow, people said a lot of stuff tonight. So so Seth said a couple things, and Alan said, no, the hair is gone. Yep, indeed, it's gone. And then is it Joan? Says, hello, Stephen, you rock. Thank you. And the pixelation is there, but it's not too hard to see what's going on. That's good. Okay. Thanks, Alan. I'm glad to hear that. I know it's pixelated, especially when I look at the chat. Sounds good, both slow and fast tempos for some reason. Yeah, so this one's a very, very straightforward piece. So basically, there's nothing to make it muddy. There's a bass line going on, and there's a melody going on, and there's really and technically there's a third thing. There's that backbeat on beats 2 and 4, but there's no extra notes to really make the sound muddy. So I think that's why it sounds pretty good, slow. And also I'm able to play it cleaner slowly when I don't overthink and my brain's not wandering. Sometimes that's kind of a thing, just kind of, I don't know. It's like I'm looking at the music, following along with with you guys and everything. But then sometimes my brain will just go off on a tangent. And that's something we should probably talk about on a different live stream, just about focusing and trying to not let your mind derail you, especially if you have anxiety. Like sometimes I have some tendencies to be a little anxious about things. So sometimes that kind of helps, is just figuring out how to focus and taking deep breaths and all sorts of things like that before playing. All right. And then Alan says that chord progression sort of reminds me of Smooth Criminal. I could see why. Yeah. It's kind of a very similar walk up using the same notes, just not quite as rhythmic. Very cool. So Navik says, hey, Steven, I see you cut your hair. Yes, I did. It's a summer cut for summertime. So there you go. I think that's part of the reason why I decided to do the song, which is kind of funny. Alan says, love this song. It's a really good one. It's a classic. And then Nicholas says, hello, I'm new on the channel. Where can I find the sheet music of this song? I have it available for Patreon members. I can't remember if this one is behind the membership or not. I may have made it to where you have to be a patron to see it, but you can become a patron. I think it's like $5 US a month if you want to. And then, if you wanted to, you could literally just do 1 month, download a whole bunch of stuff, and then quit, if you don't have like a lot of money, or you can stay on and there'll be new songs each month. Just depends on what you're up to or what you're into. Sorry. So that's where you can find that. The other place that you could find it, if you don't want to spend any money and you're willing to go through something that's slightly more annoying, you could go to my video from Tuesday, which is this song, and you could literally pause the video where I do the playback and screenshot it if you wanted a printed version, or if you wanted a still version of it, or you could just play through it and pause it at different times as you're learning it. So those are the two places you can get the music. So hopefully that helps. And so if you're not able to do Patreon, then that's the other way you can still get access to it. So it's like it'll be tabs on screen where it literally like plays along. So that'll be on last week's video, just on this Tuesday's video on the channel. So great questions. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. I forget that there are oftentimes new people to the channel watching. So welcome, and thank you for watching. And I hope it's been fun doing that. I feel like we should play through the song, but I almost feel like the chances of me, you know, like messing it up because I have it to where I can't see all the time. So I'd have to like scroll through, kind of makes it tricky. But we could do like a slow playthrough. But if you want a good slow playthrough, that's on the video on Tuesday as well. And after I get through with this, I should probably link that in the description for you guys so that you can find that video. But let's try to play through it. I'm gonna see if I can trust my memory enough to get the part that's at the bottom, because I think it can get us all the way to the hard part. And once that happens, it's just the same. So we're gonna do it kind of slow, but not super slow. If you want a fully half-speed version of it and you have the patience for it, then that's on last Tuesday's video, or this past Tuesday's video. All right. So from the beginning, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Or pretend I played it right. Extending. Okay, so obviously when I laugh, it was because I made a mistake early on, and then I made the exact same mistake later on. And it's like such a simple one. And it's just funny because my fingers just won't play it right. It was basically the times where I'm doing the stretch from the 5th fret on the E string to the 9th fret on the G string, right? So I ended up hitting the 9th fret on the G string and nothing else with it. So basically that is a hard stretch, and I think brain is just not wanting my hand to stretch that much. I'm not really sure. The way that I would combat this is practicing the transitions. If you're struggling with the same part, I would go from like measure 4 to measure 5 and go like, just to practice getting that, to remember to do the 5th fret with the 9th on that last note. So ghost, 5th, both, and actually we just plucked the last one. So so that's more like, yeah. So just pluck that last one. I don't know why I'm raising my hand up after doing it, but you get the idea. So because that was such a kind of small mistake, hopefully the laughing won't throw you guys off as you're playing back with that. I don't feel like it's worth redoing the whole play along just for that, but hopefully that gives you an idea of that. I'm pixelated like it's 1999. Okay, that's probably because I'm looking at the chat on here while I'm doing that. But honestly, if my videos weren't doing that before, I have a feeling that YouTube must have changed something, and it's affecting my my setup. So I'll just have to like figure out what's going on there. I almost want to blame my internet provider. It's just really easy to blame your internet provider for stuff like that. It seems like that's the logical place where it's having issues, because I have a good webcam, I have a good microphone, I have, you know, decent audio setup. So I think the reason it's pixelating really, really bad like that, and I'm so sorry that it's happening, guys. I really hate that it's happening. I have a feeling it's my connection speed. I feel like they slowed it down. And, you know, they made a sales call the other day about, hey, do you want to speed up your internet? And no, you know, it's like I didn't really want to spend extra to speed up my internet to the was already at before. So I'm trying to figure that out, and hopefully once I figure that out, it'll stop happening, or at least not quite so bad. But for now, unfortunately, we kind of got to put up with it. So I appreciate you guys being patient and just working on that. I hope to have a better setup soon, or a better way to do that. But that's what's going on. So sorry about that. But yeah, it is pixelated, unfortunately. So Seth says, I need bigger hands for that stretch. Oh, just that's the other thing. My hand didn't want to do the stretch either. So if you don't want to do the stretch, replace the 5th fret on the E string with the open A string. So you could go, right? So that's that 9th fret on the G string with the slapped E string, just ghosted. Then the 5th fret on the G string by itself, and then playing the 9th fret on the G string with the open A string instead, and then play the rest like it is. Right? So that's a good way around that, so that you don't have to do that. A lot of people have trouble there. And Alan says, yeah, your videos used to be really clear just a few weeks ago. Yeah, I'm a little fed up with whatever is going on, because it should be working fine. There's really no reason for this, and then it's been screwing that up. Yeah, well, so they're always wanting to keep their customers. Right. No, that's a good call. If I have other providers that'll do this location here, then I might need to do that, because something is definitely wrong. And, you know, it's because I have the phone and the computer both on it, too. And the fact that didn't used to be an issue, and now all of a sudden it's an issue. Yeah, that's very unfortunate. And I've got to figure it out here in the next few days. So hopefully I'll have it by next week. If I have to pay more, then that's something I can do. But if I'm going to pay more, I want to actually get a better service. So like you said, I might switch providers. Cool. So thank you guys. I appreciate that. And sorry for that in the temporary thing. So Black Betty says, I'm looking to buy a new electric guitar. Going to spend maybe $2,000 a Les Paul or Strat or something else. So guitar, we don't usually get a lot of guitar questions here, so that's kind of cool. You can't go wrong with a good Strat. You know, what kind of music do you like playing the most? Do you like just look to your favorite guitar players. Are the ones that you look up to the most playing a Strat, or are they playing a Les Paul? So if you want like a Led Zeppelin kind of vibe, and you want like a thicker sound that's more like, for a little bit heavier rock, then you probably want the Les Paul. If you want something that can still be kind of jazzy, kind of has this clean sound, it can still rock, but something more in the Hendrix ballpark and the Stevie Ray ballpark, then you might want to get a Strat. So I would say just look at your influences to answer that question, and look at what style you're playing, and that would be the best thing. All right. You need to turn the Wi-Fi off on your U-Bass. Maybe that will help. Yeah, I don't think the U-Basses get Wi-Fi yet, but we'll see what Kala will do. Maybe they will one day. Maybe instead of a tuner screen, they'll have a screen that you can look up YouTube videos on the actual thing. Who knows where we're headed with all that? That might be a little annoying, really, but who knows? So Black Betty says, I play everything, and there are hundreds of artists I like. Well, there's another option, depending on the quality you want. Both Fender and Gibson make guitars that are closer to the $1,000 range, right? So you could get both, and just get the highest level of which one you can, and base it on reviews and stuff. If you end up having to go with an Epiphone, Les Paul, that might be one thing that you might end up doing. But there are some really good Epiphones if you can find the right one. And, the way you can do that is just look at reviews, look at what they say. The Classic Vibe series, at least for basses, the Squier Classic Vibe series from Fender has been really good, and you can get a really good tone for like the fraction of the price. Maybe the guitars also have this quality, to them. So look into that, look into reviews, and see if they have that too, because you might be able to get the tones that you're after for much cheaper and not need to have a $2,000 guitar. That's the other idea. Maybe I should get a guitar that's good for general. I personally like the Strat better, because I think if you're playing all styles, you can still get a rock tone with it. And some people get the ones with the 2 single coils and then a humbucker as well. And then maybe having that extra humbucker gives you a little bit more edge, but then you can still get a good clean sound if you aren't using the humbucker. So that's kind of another idea. Oh, your Road Gear bass stopped working when you hit the top string. Weird. Yeah, I'd take that to a shop and get it fixed. Someone can probably fix that for you. Yeah. So does anybody have any other questions, or any questions about the song, or just U-bass in general, or just general music theory questions? Anything of that nature? Because if so, now is a good time to let me know. I'm sure it'll get pixelated again, but let's see. See if closing some things helps. So Steven, thank you for your videos. You're very welcome. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you guys so much for commenting and being a part of the live stream, even with the technical issues and stuff. And the technical issues with my fingers playing the wrong notes too. I guess that counts as well as a technical issue. Is it Joan? Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. You can correct me if I'm wrong. You bought a U-bass. Congratulations on that. And which model did you get? Or if it's not a Kala, which brand did you get? Can you play Black Betty? I used to be able to on bass. There was a band that I played it with, but now my brain just doesn't remember at all. I can't even remember what the riff sounds like at all. So I apologize for not being able to do that right now. But it's a good song. I just can't remember. I can only remember the lyric part for some reason. There's like one dun 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 dun, but I can't really remember how the riff goes well enough to do it. There's some cool riffs in there though. I think parts of it are pretty easy, and then there's some parts where it's kind of weird specific timing. It might be later on in the song, but yeah, I just, for the life of me, can't quite remember what the riff's like. So a mahogany, very cool. Oh man. Seth says, play the same song in the DJ Jazzy Jeff Will Smith style. I'm not really familiar enough with it to know how that went. But that's an interesting idea. And then let's see, a mahogany SMHGFS. Oh, cool. So you got the mahogany one. Very nice. A string and the E string sound very buzzy from the 12th fret. How do I calibrate it? So I messed with the truss rod. You probably want to talk to somebody before you do something like that. But you could give there's a truss rod in your model. It would be in the sound hole right near the neck, and I'm trying to figure out if you want to tighten it or loosen it. If you've got a buzz here, it may be that it's let me think about that. If you've got a buzz there, it may be that the neck's too flat, and you may want to loosen it a little bit to raise the action, but not a lot. But you may want to loosen the truss rod in that case, if I'm not mistaken. But don't do it a whole bunch, because then you might end up with a buzz on a different part of the neck. So you kind of just have to kind of figure that out. But there may be some things that you want to try before doing that. It may be that they have the pickup just slightly too low or something. And if that's the case, there's a little piece of plastic underneath the pickup. If you pull out the whole assembly, there's like a little sliver of plastic. At least there was in one of them. And you may just need to put something else on that to prop it up just a tiny bit higher. So that's one option as well if the string is just too low and that's what's causing it. But it may just be that the neck is too flat and needs a little bit more of a scoop, just a tiny bit more. But you probably want to ask some other people on that one and make sure that that's really what's going on. Chords are just B5. Like, there's a riff later on in the song that I can't remember. So I think, yeah, I can't remember what it does chord wise. All right, yeah. So hopefully that helps with the U-bass issue. Let's see. Black Betty says currently play a Squier Strat and there's a lot of static, so I have to Bluetooth the. Oh, okay. So you have an issue with the cord. Sometimes static can be caused by a lot of different things. So if you have a short in the cable, just get a new cable. If it's a short in the guitar, there might be a short in the jack. I had to take mine in and get the jack resoldered. But I also have a Squier. You can kind of see the headstock in the corner right over right there. Sorry, it's hard to point at something behind me like that. I'm using the camera. But yeah, so I actually have a Squier Strat that I got off of Craigslist for like $35, and it's been pretty good. But I haven't played it a lot lately. But it sounds pretty good. It's a pretty good guitar considering that I got it so cheap. And then, okay, I'll try. Thanks for your help. I ask because in my country, the U-bass is kind of new. Very cool. Yeah, so even here, there are a lot of times where people have no clue what a U-bass is, and you take it to a jam or you take it around a group of friends or whatever, and you have it plugged in, and they're just like, what the heck? How does that sound so good? You know, how does that get such a low sound and everything? So, so yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff going on. But as far as those issues, you know, as far as buzzing issues, I mean, any luthier that deals with ukuleles and other things like that should know ways to fix this problem, because that particular problem of having some frets that buzz is kind of universal to different instruments, and there are ways to fix it. And so the ideas that I'm telling you about the truss rod and about the raising the action, you know, whether that's getting a new nut and a way to prop the bridge up just slightly, all that stuff. It's really just a matter of a luthier just understanding the logic of an instrument, kind of being able to fix that. So that might help a little bit. Cool. Yeah. So it may help. You may be able to watch videos on people fixing ukuleles, you know, to figure out how to do that as well. So hopefully that helps a little bit. But great questions. Honestly, I need to do more work on fixing stuff on instruments, and, you know, make more videos on changing strings and other things of that nature. Sometimes when I make those videos, I'm like figuring out how to do it for the first time too. So I know I get some criticism on those, but I try to stress that that's what's going on if that's the case, so that you guys know to kind of, and I usually try to give you a resource or two on if I'm not sure if I'm doing everything correct, but I'm like following someone's instructions, I usually give you that resource too. If it's somewhere I can give that to you, blah. If it's somewhere online or something. All right. Well, any other questions? Because we're about to wrap it up, unless you guys have any other questions about U-basses in general, or the song Summertime, or just any questions you have. So let me know. I'll give you guys about 2 minutes and then we'll call it. So I'll play a song just to kind of do that. right, guys. I guess I was just going to noodle instead of playing an actual song. But anybody with any final questions for the night? I'm not seeing anything on here. So if that's the case, that that you guys just need time to think of questions for me to answer, just let me know in the comments below. I'll check back and see that just on the non-live playback of this. And oh, okay, there's one that just came in. Here's my last question. Is there a difference between the contemporary mahogany models and the one I bought? I'm really not sure what you mean by the contemporary ones. Let me, I'm just going to look up the model that you gave and just see if it's the one I'm thinking it is. Let's see. Body base. Where'd you say? Mahogany SMHG. Mahogany. Color. Okay. So that's the all solid mahogany. I think that one's oh, it looks like it's been discontinued. You got the sorry, I'm looking at the fretless instead of the fretted. But yeah, that one's a nice one. I feel like that's the one that Jacob Collier was playing in the video where he did the Boogie on Reggae Woman. If I'm not mistaken, that's the one he was using. So that one is a little bit better than the entry-level mahogany ones. If you're talking about like the Nomad or the Wanderer, that one's a step up from there for sure. I think the pickup's different, and I think the strings are different. And I think they put strings that are a little bit better, in my personal opinion, on there. So I think it's a step up from the entry level ones. Okay. Right, the Nomad and the Wanderer cost less. Yeah. So the pickup that they have, while it looks like it has more options, and it kind of does, the treble, the middle, and the bass, and then it has the volume, on these pickups. This pickup's in both the Nomad and the Wanderer as well. Basically, I mean, it might be a variation of it, but the Shadow pickup is the one that comes in the one that you got, and I think it's a better quality pickup, even though it has less tone options. So like the sound that you get out of it is a little bit, it's just better. I'm not sure what makes it better, but when I compare them, I like the sound of my exotic mahogany that has that pickup a little bit better. So I think it's just like a better pickup. Literally the pickup itself is a little bit different, and I feel like that one's just a little bit higher quality. The strings are different. They usually pay a little bit more attention to detail on those, which is why I'm a little surprised that yours is having some buzz issues, because usually they make sure they don't on there. The quality control is usually better at that price range as well. So, right. So yours doesn't have that option, right? So you have the one where it's just a single tone knob, and you can add more treble to it by turning it one way and add more bass by turning it the other way. But honestly, if you have an amp, the amp has EQ on it, so you don't really need the extra necessarily. That's kind of my opinion on it. But yeah, I just think they're better built. They spend a lot more attention to detail on those, and I did notice a quality difference when I compare the Nomad and the Wanderer to the exotic mahogany, at least, which is in a similar price range as that. It's very similar U-bass to that, same pickup. But I mean, I want to say the tuners might be better on that one. Does it have the Hipshot tuners? Because it might have better tuners as well, I think. Oh, here's the exotic mahogany. And yeah, the tuners say Hipshot on them. They're just a better, really, I think they're a better quality tuner. And then these are just kind of like the ones Kala, just kind of, I mean the tuning pegs when I'm saying tuners, not the built-in tuner. But yeah, so these tuning pegs are better on the mahogany one. And at least they're a brand that's known for making them instead of just Kala making their own or importing their own from wherever. Yes. So it's just kind of like, slightly better quality parts basically go on there, and they spend a little more attention to detail. It should be that the frets on yours, if you have the fretted, it should be that they're not sharp on the edges. They're not as sharp on the edges. Although, maybe on mine that's not the case. But I don't know. I just feel like there's a little bit more attention to detail on them as well. So it's more expensive for a reason, but they're all good. Even the entry level ones are good. It's just there is a step up when you get to that price range, and you kind of notice it if you play one and then the other. And yeah, so that's kind of the main. All right, well, guys, that about does it for me. I hope you have some. I hope you have like a good week. Yeah, I don't know what I was trying to say a second ago. Hope you have a good week. Hope you have fun trying to play these songs, whether you choose to try to play this one, or if you're in America and you want the patriotic one from 2 weeks ago. July 4th is coming up. I also did the Star Spangled Banner like 2 or 3 years ago. I want to say years ago, but it might have been 3. So if you want to, you can kind of like scroll through and find those. But yeah, I think the Summertime's also a good one to play, But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. Once again, if you're looking for the music for that one, I have a Patreon, patreon.com/StephenCoxBass, where you can find stuff like that. Some of the stuff is free and some of it's for patrons only. You just have to scroll through and see which is which, because it's basically just all on the Patreon feed. If you can access it, then it's, there's some stuff on there where you can print some of the music out that way. But then some of it's kind of just for patrons only. So check that out if you want to. And I will see you guys later. And Seth, thank you for tuning in. Joan, I think since you didn't correct me on that, that maybe I'm pronouncing it right. Then Blackie, Alan, both Allens, Seth. Let's see who else commented. Nicholas. So thank you guys all for tuning in. I really do appreciate that. And to anybody else that just wanted to hang out and didn't comment, thank you guys once again. Have a great week, and I'll see you on Tuesday for a normal video and 7 p.m. Eastern for another live stream on Thursdays. All right. Have a good one. Take care and stay safe.